Hey friends, this is Mike Bircher, and today we are going to make a 3-circuit Cretan Labyrinth out of clay, out of self-hardening clay. It'll take a few days to dry, but the process of putting it together only takes 15 or 20 minutes. You need to gather your supplies, which are a 4-inch circle of self-hardening. Self-hardening is very important. Self-hardening clay. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. A pattern for a 3-circuit labyrinth, or you can draw it yourself. At the end of the video, I'll show you how to do that. Some sort of tool to trace the pattern with. This is an actual clay needle tool here, but you can also use just the blunt end of a mechanical pencil, no lead. Water for working with the clay. Some sort of wire or thread or dental floss to pull the finished labyrinth away from whatever surface you are doing it on. My hard surface today is a piece of masonite. I'm actually going to use the back of this, and then of course you're going to need a towel for cleanup, and you're going to want to cover your work surface and possibly your own body because it can be a messy project. Then you're going to place your labyrinth on your pattern on top of your clay labyrinth. You'll notice that hopefully the outside edges of the labyrinth kind of line up with the outside of the clay. Actually, with my pencil then, I am going to trace. It's going to ruin my pattern, just saying. I am going to trace. And I don't need to trace the outside edge because the outside is the border of the clay itself. So I'm working on the inside here. As you'll see, oops, and then that little bump doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be precise in any way, shape, or form. This little piece coming in, though, is kind of important. Do want to make sure I get my cross in the right place, and I think I've done it all. Let's see what happens. And yes, we have a pattern, and you can see that the papers come off, so you can use your pencil now or your clay tool. I think I'll use my clay tool at this point, my needle tool, to make the pattern a little more distinct so that I can see what I am doing. Oops. These little boo-boos do not matter because they're going to disappear. And all you're doing right now is just tracing the outline of the labyrinth so that you know, bonk, that it's yours. Okay. You really want to press in hard as you make your turns so that you're making a very clear groove, a very clear dent. So this finger labyrinth is, in fact, molded to your own fingers. Now the outside one is the tricky. You want to make sure these inside ones are a little bit smaller so that you can push the outside one down pretty hard. And it's going to take some pushing back and forth and lots of water, lots and lots of water. The nice thing is that you can come along the outside edge when we've got this groove in and kind of push it back up. So there's my path, right? Coming into the labyrinth. Oh, my center's gotten a little bit out of kilter, so I really want to push that down. I really want that to be the focal point of my labyrinth. So once you get to this point where it's smooth and easy and even, and you're happy with your design, you are going to want to get your fingers really wet and bring up the outside sides so that you have a clear, distinct wall. So I'm going to need to bring this wall in a little bit here. Push it in a little bit. You want that really crisp wall. So you're going to go back in here. Now I'm going to wet my fingers again and push this wall up. Now the way that most people, or traditionally people, pray the labyrinth, is on the way in like this. You let go of the things that get in the way of paying attention, being centered with God. So you're on the way in, you might be praying things like, God, help me focus on you. God, help me think that keep me from thinking that I'm in control. Help me to let go, help me to breathe. And then when you get to the middle, that's the point where you meet Christ, where you focus on Jesus and say, okay, I'm just going to sit here a minute. You can sit there with your finger or take your finger out, whatever works for you, but to just allow yourself to be in the presence of Christ. And then on the way out, you pray to be used by Christ. Okay, now that you filled me up and rejuvenated me, God, how do you want me to serve you? Help me to solve these problems. I use labyrinths mainly for decision-making tools. If I can't, and I should do it at the beginning and not the end of my process, right? So if I can't myself figure out what it is that God wants me to do, I'm going to come to a labyrinth and have that prayer. So I'm smoothing up the edges again. As you can see, this didn't take very long. I really want that to be a little smoother, a little rounder. I got a little dent there I'm not too pleased with, but this is a project a whole family can do, Bible school can do, Sunday school can do, adults can do. It makes a great adult Bible study lesson. As we just pull ourselves in, center ourselves, use this labyrinth as a tool. So I want to put a little bit of a cross in the center of my labyrinth. So I've taken some extra clay that I have, and like we did as kids with Play-Doh, I'm rolling out a little snake. And I'm going to get a piece of my snake right here. And where I want to put it is right here. So I'm going to do something with a sharpish implement and scratch up the back of my cross. I know, why do we do that? Well, it's called, the technical term is called slip and score. So I've got this kind of gooey clay here. That's terrific. That's going to be my slip. Slip is like the clay, really gooey clay that becomes a glue. So let me put my cross piece right there. And then I'm going to take my other piece. I'm going to roll it a little bit more. I'm going to put the little marks in it. Maybe I am. I've got extra goo on here. But I'm going to give it, that's so that that goo can get in there. And I'm going to mark this up here. And I'm going to get some gooey clay from down here and put it in there. And I'm going to put this across. Maybe I am. See, I'm not an expert. And I want to press it right down into that other clay. So I am smoothing this in so I have my cross. Again, kind of smoothing the edges, kind of pushing down the walls as I make this kind of final pass. My edges are not perfect, and I'm okay with that. I hope you're okay with yours. You can be perfectionist about this, but you know, the only true perfectionist is God. We need to let God be God and let us be God's children. All right, so I'm going to call this done, but I'm not really done. I'm almost done. So I find it easier if I put the wire on the other side and work towards me. So I want to keep the wire or the dental floss or the guitar string, and very carefully, keeping it close to the surface, pull that through so that I'm actually cutting it off the board. And then I can use my little needle tool here to lift it up. I'm going to lift it up. I may have lost my name on the bottom. Looks like I did. So I'm going to write my name in this little, or my initials right here. So I'll know this one is mine. And then we just wait for it to dry. Put it in the sun, put it under a lamp. So it's been about 48 hours and we're outside, and we're going to use this Krylon Max Clear Acrylic Spray, glossy, to give it kind of a final permanence. That'll help keep it from cracking and to make the surface smooth. It's just a good way to preserve it. This does not take long to dry. It dries in 10 minutes or less. So there you have it, 10 minutes or less.